just 23 when he wrote Easy Virtue, a comic satire on the English aristocracy. Alfred Hitchcock made a silent movie version. Now director Stephan Elliott, best known for Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, offers a musical twist on the jazz age with songs such as Car Wash and Sex Bomb performed as if written by Cole Porter. Hollywood starlet Jessica Biel is Larita, a modern American girl who brings sex and scandal to an English country house when she arrives as the new wife of John Whittaker. John's father, a brooding and largely silent Colin Firth, is entranced by Larita. She's beautiful, she's a racing driver, and she's been married before. John's mother, Kristen Scott Thomas, is horrified.
Smile, Marion.
I don't feel like smiling.
You're English, dear. Fake it. The prodigal son returns in a blaze of gravel.
Father, you shaved. Hilda.
Welcome, madam.
Oh, darling, sorry. Mother, this is my wife, Larita.
Mrs. Whittaker, the pleasure is all mine.
Oh, you're American.
Jessica Biel as Larita, greeted by a frosty Mrs. Whittaker, played by a brilliantly haughty Kristen Scott Thomas. Julie, Stephan Elliott examined the idea of the culture clash before. He did it with Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. What about this one?
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I thought it was wonderful. Actually, what it did was it sort of re-interested me in the idea of Noel Coward, who's sort of gone slightly out of fashion, and I sort of didn't quite see the point of going what this film was going to be. It's brilliant. I thought it was enjoyable from start to finish. It's very funny. It looks beautiful. They've done something incredible with the colours, with the filming of it. I like the music. They do a lot of things which ought not to work, but do, like having people suddenly break into song for a few bars. But Kristen Scott Thomas is the thing that makes it work better than anything. She's fantastic.
A worthy twist on the country house costume drama.
Yeah, I was going to say, a film about a bunch of rich people pontering around in big houses isn't normally my idea of fun. I was probably looking forward to this about as much as work. But
3 years after the end of the Great War.
But what I thought was actually, I was picking up on what Julie, I thought it had real charm to it. And the other thing I thought was it really made me nostalgic. And it wasn't nostalgic for the 1920s. It was more nostalgic for last week when you could still laugh at Americans. So I quite like the idea that there was this sort of, you know, there was slightly middle-class sneering about anti-Americanism throughout the whole thing, but it was kind of tolerated. And I thought that a lot of the things which you would think would be cheesy, so if you say Sex Bomb being played in a sort of Noel Coward cod style, you think that would sound awful, but I actually thought it really worked.
Ian, you're a music fan.
It's, well, yeah, I mean, the music sort of passed me by. I was too busy laughing at the dog that dies. I mean, we saw it in that clip there. I mean, I'm a sucker for chihuahuas that get squashed and killed. It's the best dog death scene since Something About Mary. There is a more interesting film hiding in the background of this film, and that film would be a more serious film about Jessica Biel and Colin Firth. The one of whom has killed someone, the other one of whom lost a whole platoon of his men in the First World War and came back and is a destroyed man because of what happened. And the two of them have a very interesting relationship that's starting to develop at the end of the film.
They're both outsiders in a way, aren't they? They're both not really fitting in. So he's not fitting into the marriage and the family, and she's not fitting in because she's from another world.
But I think it's right. But what made the film for me, actually, there was a point in the film where I thought, I'm really enjoying this, but what's it all amounting to? And actually, I thought that dark thread that goes through it, which is the fact they're still all living in the shadow of the war, was actually very well done. You're right, it was lightly done.
It's a credit crunch film also, because they're having to sell off pieces of their land because they're skint. You know, this is the aristocracy, the gentry, skint, and having to flog off their houses and their estates.
I think Kristen Scott Thomas gives this performance where you gradually begin to understand where she's coming from, and you don't exactly like her, but you can understand her, and I thought that was so beautifully done.
I think there are dark themes in this film, and as you say, I mean, it is about selling off the house, about pulling the family together. But also, let's see a clip here. This is when Mr. Whittaker, who is the guy who has come back from the war, obviously had a bad war, is in a loveless marriage. He is discovered by Larita in his potting shed. Colin Firth, it turns out to be, is the most interesting member of the Whittaker family.
Dieu est un comédien devant une audience qui a trop peur pour rire.
When were you last in France?
Just after the war. On a personal reconnaissance, trying to ascertain what exactly all those fine young men had died for. Apparently, I'm of the romantic lost generation.
What did you lose?
I'm not sure.
Julie, Colin Firth barely says a word in this film. There's more in that scene than the rest of the movie put together. I thought Jessica Biel, though, was a real revelation, real screen presence, real star quality.
So
I didn't know anything about it.
No, I know, it's so beautiful. I read somewhere, I think, that they made sure there weren't too many bright colours around her, so that she was luminous. And there is a beautiful... This film is so well designed. There were frosty mornings outside the house and things. But I think what was interesting about Colin Firth and Jessica Biel, it was such a modern relationship, really, that he was hinting at. And, I mean, we don't want to give away the ending of the film, but it is a modern situation that he gives us there. I actually wondered whether Easy Virtue really does end like that. I don't know if anyone
I don't think it
knows.
I think there's a... Don't say how
No,
it ends, but I mean, however it ends, if you know Easy Virtue, the original one, OK, it ends differently.
Well, if it doesn't, they've done something quite clever with it in that case, I think.
So that's what I just pick up on. I thought the direction was really witty and really inventive, and so things which could possibly have made it seem like a stale period drama, it didn't, because there were some really interesting shots and there was real energy to the direction, which I just think would brought people in who might not necessarily be tempted by it.
There are tricks that have clearly been borrowed from Baz Luhrmann, that thing he does, the anachronistic use of music that Baz Luhrmann does in Moulin Rouge. And as you say, he has Mad Dogs and Englishmen and Mad About the Boy sung by the characters in the film, almost like Dennis Potter.
But it's not laid on as thickly as Dennis Potter or Baz Luhrmann would lay it on. You can almost miss it. I mean, Sex Bomb, you could almost miss it. You know, you've got to be concentrating and think, actually, Sex Bomb may have come from the 20s. You know, the way they do it, you think maybe that is the original. Tom Jones just dusted it off.
Well, Easy Virtue Certificate PG is in cinemas now.